In 1996, Disney released one of its bravest animated films of all time, and though the sequel that followed was more child-friendly and more terrible, the original story we were introduced to was full of heartache and showed us that it's worth it to seek out your happiness and freedom. But in this world of corruption and secrets, who comes out as the best and who is the worst? Hey guys, I'm Brad with Wicked Binge, and this is the Hunchback of Notre Dame 1 and 2. Good to evil.
You will pay for this insolence.
As usual, we'll start off with our most pure character and work our way down. These characters are the good. Starting with our most good, we have to give the gold medal to the Archdeacon. He doesn't get much screen time, but when he is seen, he's always speaking up for those who need a voice. He's in the beginning when Frollo is about to drown Quasimodo, and he takes the now deceased mother to give her a proper burial. His quick appearance implies that he was actually trying to respond to the woman's cry for sanctuary, but finding her dead, instead spoke out against the injustice Frollo caused. He insisted Frollo right his sins by raising the child, but allowed the man to leave the child at the church.
Care for the child and raise it as your own.
Considering Quasimodo's manners and gentle nature, the Archdeacon likely made a positive impact on the young man as he grew. He gave Quasimodo purpose within the church, giving him tasks like ringing the bells and helping to clean up after Mass. He showed up again, protecting Esmeralda and allowing her to stay where she would be safe. When Frollo went to hunt her down after attempting to burn her at the stake, the Archdeacon showed up again to try and stop the man, but unable to do so when carelessly tossed to the ground and unable to get up. Next is Phoebus. A captain of the honored armed forces, he was called from the Crusades to aid Frollo, and he expressed how confused he was to be called from the battlefield.
I was summoned from the wars to capture fortune tellers.
He showed discomfort when Frollo demonstrated killing bugs to compare his fight against the Romani people occupying a city, and he didn't approve of Frollo destroying the city to hunt Esmeralda. While Phoebus had a job he was tasked with, he did speak out when Frollo attempted to kill a family in cold blood.
With all due respect, sir, I was not trained to murder the innocent.
The man rushed into the fire to save them, even though doing so would mean Frollo could put him to death for treachery. He also showed kindness to Quasimodo, treating the sheltered man with respect rather than being appalled by his features. In fact, Phoebus is the only one in the entire franchise to not have a disgusted or appalled reaction when seeing Quasimodo's face for the first time. Though the two had their disagreements, they learned to work together. Phoebus rallied the people together when Frollo attacked Notre Dame to capture Esmeralda, and the man was in the perfect place to save Quasimodo when the young man nearly fell to his death. Quasimodo's mother is next. We don't know all too much about her, but given the fact she falls into the sacrificing mothers category, we have to rank her in the higher end of the good section. She's a loving parent who is desperate to save her child from the cruelty of the French government, and she loves him despite his deformity.
A monster.
She might be knowledgeable in Catholic law, as shown when she seeks shelter at Notre Dame, but by the laws of Disney, she's a loving parent, and therefore she had to die. The family Phoebus saves deserves a mention next. Esmeralda later clarified that this was the Baker's family, with the man being a very well-known member of the community. During Frollo's hunt for Esmeralda, he confronted the Baker and the man's family, demanding to know if they were hiding anyone. The Baker replied their home was always open to weary travelers, and while she wasn't hiding in their home, they had taken in gypsies before, not being the type to discriminate.
Our home is always open to the weary traveler.
Even if you haven't seen the film, you're likely to have seen tons of fan art featuring Esmeralda. Her whole act was to captivate the audience, and she stated herself that it was successful enough to keep her fed and well off compared to others of her clan. She befriended Quasimodo, though she was taken aback when she realized that his face wasn't a mask as she originally thought. When the crowd turned against him, she stood up and spoke out against Frollo's cruelty.
You speak of justice, yet you are cruel to those most in need of your help.
She used Quasimodo as a comparison to how her own people were treated, as outcast. There are some traits that knock her down a few spots. While Esmeralda's suspicions were justified, she treated Phoebus as an enemy without really knowing him. When he tried to get her to claim sanctuary, she accused him of tricking her. She did repay him by swinging a rock at Frollo's horse to give the captain a means of escape after he saved the Baker's family, and she even took him to Quasimodo for help. But this brings us to our other issue. She did sort of use Quasimodo when he told her he could help her escape the church. It wasn't done out of malice, and she was likely not even trying to make him fall for her, but that little kiss would have meant more to a sheltered man like the Hunchback, and that was probably obvious.
Come with me.
What?
Questionable methods aside, she was a victim to Frollo's obsessive nature. When Phoebus and Quasimodo found the Court of Miracles, she spoke up and said that they weren't spies and prevented their hanging. In the sequel, she still remained passionate about fair treatment for her people, but she focused more on Madeline being given the benefit of the doubt. Our main hero, Quasimodo, is next. Part of the reason he's such a great protagonist is that he's incredibly flawed. And no, we aren't going by appearance. Though he seems to be the world's best parkour expert, he's clumsy with interacting with others, and he's pretty bad at lying. Being sheltered for 20 years with Frollo filling his head with dark thoughts, Quasimodo was led to believe that people were unforgiving and gypsies were sinners for simply existing.
You are good to me, master.
He becomes fiercely protective of Esmeralda after their interactions, going from threatening Phoebus with fire to gaining the courage to take on Frollo. His love for her led to one of the most dramatic Disney scenes ever, with him swooping in to save her from burning alive and taking her upon Notre Dame's balcony to declare sanctuary for all to hear. It was satisfying to have that romantic interest, unrequited though, with Quasimodo giving his blessing to the two friends he had gained. When we see Quasi again in the sequel, he still has a lot to learn. He fell for Madeline, helping her become more confident. He was suspicious when he found out she was working with Sarouche, and he rejected her, but they were able to move past the misunderstanding and go on helping one another.
You've shown me that the world is full of miracles.
Quasimodo is a kind and gentle person, although naive and overly trusting. Zephyr, Esmeralda and Phoebus' son, did not make much of an impression. He's dropped a little bit lower because he just doesn't do much as far as plot.
What are you doing?
Nothing.
He's a curious and adventurous kid, raised to see Quasimodo as a sort of uncle and learns to juggle from his relatives. He had brief ambitions to join the circus, deciding against them when he found out Sarouche was stealing La Fidèle from Notre Dame. He's a well-meaning kid, but his intentions were often met with more obstacles than he was able to overcome. With the good characters out of the way, we now enter the neutral territory. These characters have proven to be as problematic as they are helpful. This is the gray area. If Esmeralda can be accused of leading Quasimodo on, Victor, Hugo, and Laverne can be accused of raising the poor kid's hopes too high. They're added as more comedic relief, and how they interact is made more confusing by the second film. It's hinted in the first movie that they paint Quasimodo's surroundings as more fun and lighthearted, without their musical numbers exposed to be pulled cloth and random pieces of forgotten mess found in the church.
Congratulations!
Got the girls chasing you already.
Jolly is shown to see Hugo move in both films, and Madeline is revealed to be able to see and hear them as Quasimodo does, because she has an imagination. Though many have mixed feelings on these three, there's no doubt that they love and care for Quasimodo. They're constantly trying to raise his confidence and talked him into attending the Feast of Fools. They encouraged his love for Esmeralda and later Madeline, fighting to protect Esmeralda in the first movie after she was brought to safety. But regardless of what you think of their antics, there's no denying you were hit hard by one exchange in particular.
We just thought maybe you were made of something stronger.
Next up is Madeline. Now, a lot of people are against the sequel, and we get it. Compared to the first, the story's way more child-friendly, the characters are much more tame, and the artwork is, well, we don't have time to get into the artwork. All that aside, Madeline was a very conflicting character. On the one hand, she allowed herself to be used as a tool for years, using her pretty face to distract people while they're being robbed blind. She was hesitant to help steal the bell in the beginning only because she was frightened of the Hunchback, telling Sarouche, "You didn't see his face."
You didn't see him.
She warmed up to Quasimodo after seeing his treatment of Zephyr, and when she began to feel close to him, she regretted tricking him, only leading him away from Notre Dame so he wouldn't be hurt during the theft. If only she had seen him break out of the chains Frollo put him in. Madeline did ultimately redeem herself, offering to help the guard and telling them how to find Sarouche, and used her skills practicing for the tightrope to save young Zephyr. It's a shame she had to be stuck in such a shady life, just because she was a hungry kid who tried to steal from the wrong guy. Jolly, Esmeralda's constant companion and partner in crime, earns the next spot on our list. Between the book and the time we see him on screen, we notice some things that make him stand apart from other animals. Jolly is a lot more talented, able to do impressions and aid with disguises when escaping corrupt officers. He assists Zephyr in juggling and accompanies Esmeralda through her dances. He's able to interact with Hugo in both films, seeing the gargoyle move, and in the second film, he's kind of like a nanny to Zephyr. Jolly was the one who was able to escape Sarouche and lead everyone to Zephyr, confirming Madeline's claims of the thief going underground.
Hurry, Jolly. Take us to him.
We're knocking some points only because of the heartless way he ate Quasimodo's figurines, and the fact that we don't see much of him as the first film progresses. It would have been nice to see the goat take on some soldiers after seeing the way he headbutted Phoebus. We're placing Clopin and the others in his clan together, since they're all of similar mindset. You do what you must to survive. They make a living entertaining, but when the streets aren't bustling with fairs and festivals, money sometimes needs to be taken in other ways. If it means tricking the public into thinking you're blind or unable to walk, so be it. A lot of these people have family to feed. They're fiercely protective of one another, unwilling to give up Esmeralda's location to Frollo, even at the threat of imprisonment and death, and almost hanging Quasi and Phoebus just for finding the Court of Miracles.
Any last words?
When freed, they fought alongside the townspeople for their freedom, and as they seem to be treated better in the second film, we can assume that there must have been an understanding after. There's also a lot of praise towards Clopin in particular, being titled King of the Gypsies, and showing a fondness for Quasimodo, immediately recognizing him as the Hunchback.
Quasimodo, the Hunchback of Notre!
There's even a bit he does when Quasimodo's on stage, and Copeland is imitating him behind his back. Achilles earns the last gray area ranking. He's been a companion to Phoebus, having been with the captain on the battlefield and when he takes his position in Paris. Achilles is used for comedic relief. Even his name is a joke, with Phoebus at once giving the order, Achilles, heal.
Come on, boy. Achilles, heal.
In the second film, he's given time interacting with his owner and happily counting out for the man how many times he's been wrong or had everyone upset at him. Finally, we enter the dark side. These characters are the bad and the evil. Starting off this section, we have the circus folk. We would rank them together with their employer, but most of the time we see them, they seem distant and mindless, following procedures like you would with tying your shoes or walking the same route to work. Thievery is just the name of the business. They don't have any sympathy for the people they steal from, taking anything and everything from priceless jewelry to rent money. However, Sarouche, being the one in charge, really deserves the hate. He's the one who orders those in his circus to steal while the audience is distracted. Not only does this mean they have a lot to trade and sell as they travel, but it also gives this egomaniac a chance to show off to a group of people. Seriously, we can't think of many more villains that love anything the way this guy loves himself. He took advantage of Madeline, emotionally and verbally abusing her to make her do as he wanted, and using guilt for her theft as a child to keep her under his thumb.
And who took you in?
He had no issue threatening Quasimodo when he thought Madeline was getting too confident, and worst of all, he was delighted to wave Zephyr around like a rag doll, using him as leverage against Phoebus. The guards earn the Silver Medal of Evil, with the powers they work for being corrupt. It makes sense that they would also be underhanded. They take coins from gypsies, claiming they don't have the ability to earn on their own, bringing men, women, and children to the Palace of Justice under Frollo's order, and, unlike Phoebus, stood by while a family was nearly burned alive inside their own home. One of the most well-done and terrifying Disney villains, Frollo earns the Gold Medal of Evil. He is the embodiment of everything that could possibly go wrong when power is given to the wrong person. He's self-righteous, murderous, abusive, and let's face it, downright creepy.
I will free you from her evil spell.
He obsesses over Esmeralda, almost destroying Paris in the process of hunting her down. He was abusive to Quasimodo for years, and that was after killing the poor guy's mother. He even chained Quasimodo in a way that he would have to witness Esmeralda's death.
Choose me or the fire.
Even when the Hunchback saved Frollo from falling to his death, Frollo just turned the situation to his advantage. Luckily, he was taken out before he could strike that final blow on our heroes. An ending filled with horror, fitting for the man who terrorized countless others. If there was ever a Disney villain who deserved to freefall into the depths of hell, it was most definitely Judge Claude Frollo. But what do you think? Who are the most good and evil characters in The Hunchback of Notre Dame and its sequel? Let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist, where we break down the morality of the characters in your favorite cartoons, shows, and movies. But most importantly, stay wicked.